Hello and welcome to Leading the Way, the official podcast of Edison Township Public Schools. This is where progress, purpose, and passion come to life as we spotlight the voices and insights, as well as the initiatives that are shaping the future of education for our students. From the classrooms to the boardrooms and to the moments in between, just join me on this journey for sharing the voices of those who inspire, innovate, and elevate our schools and our community. My name is Dr. Edward Aldarelli, proud superintendent of the Edison Township Public Schools. Thanks for joining us, and let's dive in. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Aldarelli, proud superintendent of Edison Township Public Schools. We are here for another episode of Leading the Way. Title of this podcast is Good Governance in Action, and what better people to do this with than two of our Board of Education members, Mr. Christopher Lugo and Mr. Joseph Romano. Gentlemen, hello.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
Hello, Dr. Aldarelli. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thank you so much for being here today. Looking forward to a good conversation.
Absolutely.
Talking about your role as Board of Education members, your approach to governance, and to talk a little bit about how that all intertwines with community voice and the amount of hours you donate outside of your jobs and your daily life committed to the Edison Township Public Schools. So I thank you so much for being here today. Why don't we start off, I mean, if you and I, we've all had many conversations. I know a lot about both of you, but for audience members, maybe talk a little bit just about yourself. Mr. Lugo, you want to start? Your background, number of years on the board?
Sure, absolutely. My name is Chris Lugo, and I've been a Board of Education member starting January 2024. So I'm approximately midway through my 3-year term. In my professional life, I'm a research biochemist in oncology, and I've always been a proponent for science, mathematics, STEM, and just learning in general. So that's one of the many reasons why I decided to throw my hat in the ring and run for the Board of Education, just to lend a hand. I also have my MBA from Rutgers School of Business, so I thought that could also be an area where I could help out using those skills in finance and strategic leadership and things of the sort to help the district and students, taxpayers, the whole community.
Awesome. Great. Mr. Romano?
Yes, sir. This is my second time around. To be honest with you, my job is to see that it runs well. I know people don't want to hear that. Fact of the matter is that I think I have hired everybody that the superintendent wanted to have her. And it's the way it works. I don't tell them what to do. They tell me what they want. So that's what I do.
Great. Well, I think you kind of started talking a little bit about my next question, and the topic is governance, right? It's really the purpose of the governing body of the Board of Education, right? And in Mr. Romano's words, to see that it runs well. Mr. Lugo, what does governance mean to you, if you were to kind of summarize it? Your approach to being an active participant in the Board of Education process.
Well, I would actually consider governance to be more of a macro approach.
Okay.
So you could say governance, you could say management. I would actually say governance is more of a macro approach, and management is more of the micro approach, more of the tactics to execute the strategy. So as board members, it's not our job to run the district. That's we actually have our fantastic superintendent right here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's our superintendent right here who makes all the decisions to run the district, and that's not my job. My job is to make sure that, like Mr. Romano right here just said, to make sure the district is run well, and to keep you accountable.
Yes. And
also, as board members, policy. And those are the three. I would say those are the three buckets of which where my mind is when making decisions for the district, because I think that our job is relegated to those areas.
Well, that's great. And what's good about conversations like this, it actually kind of pinpoints exactly the amount of work that all of you put in behind the scenes in relationship to, just think about policy in and of itself, right? To quantify, the number of policies we have, how you approach those in concert with laws and regulations as well, too, because those are constantly changing also. So I'll throw this out to both of you. One of your major responsibilities is setting policy for the district, right? How do you see this work shaping Edison's future, right? So we have a strategic plan that's in place that is based primarily on what we want the outcomes for students to be, right? That end is the portrait of the graduate, which we've talked about. What's policy's role in that?
Okay. Policy. I don't write the policy, but policies are written and I have to approve them. My issue is simple. I hired the best superintendent I can find. I have assistant superintendents, I have directors, I have supervisors that are hired by the superintendent. We get to take in, as board members, we get to interview them at the very end. We find out which one we want. But the superintendent and his charge, his people, they're the ones that run the district. And I think one of the problems, and I know I'm going to veer off here, but one of the problems that people, they look at the Edison Public Schools and then they talk about the Edison Board of Education. To be perfectly honest, I'm just a board member. I've been here a long time. Older board member, well seasoned. The school system is run by the superintendent and his people. I just make sure that if they say the policy is this, I follow the policy, because the policy is the law.
Great. Mr. Lugo, anything to add?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with Mr. Romano here. The policy actually gives you the framework to operate, to be able to deliver on that vision. It gives you the framework to operate, and it also ensures that we're doing everything by the law. To some extent, we are limited to the books of New Jersey at the state level.
Yep.
So our policies need to adhere to those statutes, to those laws, without a doubt. But also, policy will give you the framework of which to execute against.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting here is that we've got a good committee structure as well too, where as being the chair of the policy committee, right? A lot of those discussions and decisions will come about in recommendations to the entire board, and it can come from members of that committee. It could also come from superintendent of schools, right?
Sure.
Recommendation for policy assistant superintendent. So a lot of that cohesion is all filtered through our lens of that portrait of the graduate, which I think is not only visionary from this board, but a really like an exemplar practice.
Absolutely, and the policy will actually allow you to actually establish procedure.
Yep, absolutely.
Which
and
is
those
really,
regulations
which is really
that go
important.
along with it. Yes,
Right.
yes. Now, you had mentioned before that that discussion between governance and management. I was wondering if you can elaborate a little bit on your thought process and your philosophy and approach to that. You talked about macro and micro approach to those pieces.
Right.
Can you dive a little deeper into that?
I certainly can. So when you think about management, you actually think about a reporting structure, and the role of management is to provide the guidance throughout the organization through that reporting structure, so that tasks could be executed and goals could be met for the district. The board. That's not the board's role. The board's role is more of a governance, more of a macro type of realm that assists that management structure. So I would say, governance is a few steps removed, and it should be, me personally, it should be viewed as a higher altitude, like more of like a 10,000-foot view looking down. And that the management, it's up to the management to be able to divide and conquer tasks, set up tactics rather, to ultimately achieve the overall strategy. So I would say I would actually loosely. I mean, this is not loosely saying that governance. I see is really attached a lot to a strategy, and to make sure that you're adherent and you're compliant. And management is more of the tactical steps that are taken, right, to achieve strategy.
Yeah, and sometimes they do I mean, listen,
sure,
we have a very professional board. It definitely
Yes.
intersects, right? And a superintendent and his team would probably be remiss if they didn't listen to not only some of the seasoned board members, right, of which we have a few on this board, but also the professionals too that have that work in large organizations like yourself. So all of they do intersect in certain circumstances, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that they intersect,
Yeah.
but there could also be a world of difference between the two.
And a clear delineation
And a clear
sometimes depending
yes.
upon those pieces too. Mr. Romano, anything to add to that?
Yes, because I'm well seasoned. Okay. The fact of the matter is that the person who runs the district, that's the person I rely on. I rely on the people that are actually your people. My problem's simple. It's the Board of Ed. And it's the way that comes out. It's that sound. People, well, you're on the Board of Ed. No. Yes, I am an elected Board of Ed member, but the Edison school system is run by the superintendent and a bunch of assistant superintendents and directors. And I take my direction from you. When you put an agenda on the table, that's your agenda. I have to follow that agenda. I have to look at it. I have to feel it. And if I don't feel it, I have to ask you questions. Mm-hmm. So that's what. See, everything is about the kids. See, I know that's probably, but that's the kids. Yeah. Parents.
Yeah, that's a good point though too, and that kind of goes to like accountability in decision making as well too. Yeah. Right, our agendas can be, depending upon the time of year, can be very long, right? Especially, you look at a couple of the previous. Right now, we're in the midst of hiring season. Yeah. Right. So we just had our summer institute today. Over 100 staff members that we're hiring. Based on attrition, retirements, resignations, leaves of absence, maternity leaves, all of those pieces. So the agenda can be quite cumbersome sometimes during that time frame, and there's that level of accountability which you talked about too. It's making sure that there's a flow of communication from myself, right, as the creator of that agenda, along with the board president and the board secretary, but ensuring that the board is fully apprised to all of the information that's on there, so that you can make informed decisions, and that would lead me into your decision-making process, right? And it can not only talk about, from a board perspective too, but when you're looking at high-level decisions that impact the school district, what goes through your minds when you have to either vote on those or ask questions about it? What's your process? What do you normally do? Or how do you approach it, I should say?
It's all about the kids.
I agree. That's why we're here. Absolutely. Mr. Lugo?
Yeah, I would definitely agree. The decisions are made with definitely the kids in mind, and for you to be able to do your job. However, no two votes are equal. They all have, every vote has its own challenge associated to it. And a lot of times what I do is I look at the agenda and I say, I really, whatever how this sounds, I really think about, okay, what is it about my skills, what is it about my experience that lends me to make a good decision here? And what is that? And what exactly is it that I could lend? And there's been times where I've actually struggled with that, and then you reach out to fellow board members and you bounce ideas off each other. It's like, hey, is there history behind this, or have you seen anything like this before? If you did, what did you do? And also there's been times, and like especially with the last meeting, where if I feel if I don't have enough information, or if I don't have enough time to really digest it and to really come up with a solid yes or no. Yeah, I'll abstain.
Right.
Because I really feel it's like, hey, I need a little bit more information.
Yep.
So when it comes to making that decision, casting that vote, I never take it lightly. I never take it lightly. And also, too, one thing I always keep in mind is we all answer to somebody. Like you have a rank and file that answers to you. We hold you accountable, and the voters. We're accountable to all the voters, so we're all accountable to somebody as well. So that never leaves my mind. Every meeting, I have the code of ethics in front of me. Every single meeting, and I have it there to look at, and I have my oath there too to remind me, what I swore to. So all those things, it actually comes together and they amalgamate into a decision, and then that's translated into a vote.
Well, what's interesting is you talked about a lot of the tenets of team, right? Because the board is a leadership body. It is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. By nature, it's a leader. They are elected representatives from the community to oversee the operation of the school district within certain parameters, right? That are outlined for Board of Education members. And you talked about things like teamwork, right, and being informed and decision-making. Those are all the hallmarks of what great organizations do, right? Like if you look at any organization right now, what are people looking for out in the workplace, right? They're looking for critical thinking, right? The ability to make informed decisions based off of the information that you had. How well do you work on a team? How well do you communicate, right? So you look at how our Board of Education operates. Everyone needs to possess those exact skills in order to not only make sure that we're doing like the nuts and bolts, the day to day, but be forward thinking and progressive also at the same time.
Sure. I definitely agree with that. Definitely take those skills, but I think it's also imperative that we are constantly reminded as to what our roles are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because
Absolutely.
those lines, there should never be any ambiguity. We should know clearly with distinction what exactly our roles are, and that into consideration with everything that you just pointed out, Dr. Ray. I think is how you move forward.
Yeah. No.
Well, I could drone on a little bit, but the fact of the matter is that I take my job seriously. I'm a truck driver. I know what driving a truck is. I know what your job is. I am not going to take and say no unless I find out exactly what the superintendent or the assistant superintendents or the directors or the supervisors. I have to listen to it all and make a decision. But my final decision is with the superintendent. When people talk to me about the Board of Ed, it's the superintendent and the people that we've allowed him to hire to have him work together as a team. And that's why I think the Board of Ed, the elected Board of Ed, is a teamwork. We sit there and we talk. And there's times that we talk quite loudly.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that I take the agenda seriously because of the people that know what they're doing. Now, when you talk to me about driving a truck, different story. But when I talk to you, simple fact of the matter is hey, Doc, what do you think? What is your vision here? Like, not for nothing, my vision, AI, that's coming.
Yeah.
It's actually here.
It's here. Yeah.
Okay, so like I'm saying, Doc, you tell me what we need to do. I've talked to the people. I've talked to the people out there that voted for me. The fact of the matter is that I try to explain to them that the superintendent runs the district, not me.
So I'm looking at the dynamic here. Mr. Romano says it's his second go-around, right? It's his second go-around.
Yeah.
And Mr. Lugo's first go-around, right?
Yes.
So my question to you, Joe, is there anything that you learned in your second go-around that was different from your first? In other words, what do you think you're doing better right now than maybe you did? Or is there anything that you're doing better from the first go-around?
The first time I didn't listen as much.
Okay. That's
Okay?
reflective, though. That's
The second time around, I look and see what we've accomplished. Where have we gone? Where have we gone?
right.
I mean, I look at, gymnasiums being built.
Yeah.
I look additions on schools. The first go around, we tried doing it differently, and it really wasn't successful.
Okay.
But the second time around, yes, it's working.
And the ability to listen and make informed decisions based off of that is the learning experience of it.
And that's,
Yeah.
see,
That's interesting.
when people ask me, well, how or why, and I said, not for nothing, something as small as a hallway. Well, if the hallways were 3 feet wider, that would accommodate the students better.
Tough to do now,
So-
though, right?
Exactly. But people, when you talk to people and you explain, well, if you have 20 students in a class and you have 30 students in a class, not for nothing, 20 students is better.
Yeah.
Now, when you get into high school, and it used to be college prep. It's not that anymore.
Right.
But when you go to college, you're being talked to in an auditorium setup. And I got to be honest with you, I think, it's only my opinion, that the higher grades, we should be talking about that. We should be, what can we do as board members to accomplish that? I was told, and I can't tell you exactly, but I was told your first year of college is actually relearning, living, because it's not like high school. It's getting accustomed to college. So I like the idea of working together, but I like the idea that if we're graduating students, I want the students to be comfortable
For
leaving
the next step.
here
Yeah.
to go there.
Whatever their path is
Their
going to be.
path is
Yeah,
fine.
Sure. Mr. Lugo, right? So we've heard from a two-time, second term Board of Education member to somebody that's about midway through their first
Right.
term, right?
Right.
Biggest learning curve for you, what would you say it was?
It just solidified that nothing is ever as easy as it seems.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's something I've always carried forward with me, but after joining the board and working with the board members and with yourself and your staff, it just solidified that. And those things that are really worth something, they're the things that are the hardest to achieve. They're the things you got to really roll up your sleeves and work for. The things that just come easy.
Yeah.
They're normally the things that just sort of kind of like roll up the sleeves. And they end up not being that valuable later on, or just in life in general. But it's those things that come, where the effort and the hard work and the time spent makes something very valuable. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it was a massive learning curve for me.
Yeah.
And quite honestly speaking, being a board member was nothing like what I envisioned.
What you envisioned.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I would say maybe 25% of it overlapped with what I thought originally, but the other 75% was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting this at all. So it's more or less of being willing to accept the unknown, to dive in, to dive in, willing to learn, willing to listen, and willing to participate and give all that you got.
Would you say that the most important skill as a board member is the ability to listen, or is there another one that you might put ahead of that? What do you think the most important skill to possess is? Right, and you look at those, you look at the gamut of them, right? It could be listening.
Absolutely.
It could be
willing
communication, which is part of listening too, though, right?
Well, willing to listen is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to set the ego aside and to realize, hey, I've always said I'm never the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
So listening is important, but are you willing to take that information as new, and are you willing to change your mind? I think, yes, I do think it's very important, but you could listen to somebody, you could understand what they're saying, but if you're not willing to change your ways, if you're not willing to accept the fact that, hey, I could be wrong,
Right.
I think it kind of goes hand in hand. I think that's step one. I think step two is, okay, what are you going to do with the information you just listened to?
Okay.
How are you
going to act on it?
How are you going to act on it?
Whether that's a vote, whether that's contribute to a committee meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
That information you just received, are you going to disregard it and just double down on what what you preconceived that what you were going to do, or are you going to be open-minded about it and be like, hey, you know what? I never thought of that before. I could quite likely change my mind. So I would say, yeah, listening is very important, but how you act upon it is equally important.
And I think, too, and we talk about this also, we've talked about this at board meetings, especially during, like Board Appreciation Month, right? It's, the month where, we thank you for your service and your volunteerism, but what I don't think people see is the amount of work that all of you put in behind the scenes, in committee, in board meeting preparation, in all of the things that are required in order to sit in a caucus meeting, right? As well as vote and take actionable steps on things that we deem important as a district. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Romano.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. We're here for you guys today.
You got to talk to parents.
Yeah, I agree.
See, when you're out there at wherever, and somebody starts yelling at you, and why did you do this, or what about this, and you sit there, and did you hear what we said? Well, no. Did you comprehend what you said? Did you listen? And then they call me back, and they go, I understand it now. I says, see, the issue is simple. We don't make decisions. We make decisions after we have been talked to. We ask questions. Those are the issues that we have. Now, I have some real big issues. And to be perfectly honest, I want to look at different things. I want to be able to talk to the public and explain why this is it and why this isn't and why this isn't. At a board meeting, I actually said to somebody, I said, do me a favor, look into the camera and tell them why. My problem is simple. If this is what you want, please explain it the way you explained it to me. Explain it to them. That was the whole crux of this. Please. And take take that face thing or whatever, take that away and tell the people why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And what we really have to understand, it's about the kids. See, the public schools, the Edison Board of Education, you know what that's all about? It's about the kids.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the business that we're in, right? It is.
That is the business.
Yeah, that's the business that we're in. That's our and it's something that, you know, we as an organization, we had our new teacher kickoff today, which was absolutely fantastic. It's like the pep rally for like the indoctrination of new staff, you know, and I get up there and I tell them, you know, hey, you're in the greatest school district in the land, which we all know to be accurate.
Of course.
And we talk a lot about, you know, professional development and all the great things that you're going to do. But the one thing that we harp on, which is the hallmark of all great organizations, is culture, right? Because when you have a great culture, when you have a great environment to work, to learn, to explore, to be educated, feel free to take risks without the fear of making mistakes, right? Because that's where innovation comes. That's when great things happen. And I think that the board, from a governance body, has provided my group, right, the administrative team as well as the teachers, autonomy to really push the envelope on certain initiatives and provide teachers with the opportunity for freedom. And at the end of the day, what does that result in? It results in more course offerings for kids, extracurricular activities, access to experiences that they might not get in your traditional type of learning environment. So I think what you're talking about today, that governance role, is really lays the framework for what we do, what I'm able to do, and it's the connection between the two, which is why I love this topic. It really shows the connection between your governance role and my ability to do day-to-day operations and set a vision for the district too. What do you think your role is? And you know, we're coming a little bit towards the end of our time, but what do you think your role is in setting a vision for the district? Is that a board member's role? And if so, or is it part of a board? What's your approach to that? What do you is assisting in or setting a vision for the district? I'll throw that out to both of you.
Okay, first, I'll really quick. I hate to keep saying it, but the fact of the matter is that educating students, that's your job. Mm-hmm. You have people that do that, and they do it well. My job is to keep my foot on the gas on you. You have to keep your people in line. Yeah. You have to keep them going 100 miles an hour, because those kids, if you, there's something in, I think it's kindergarten, you teach kids how to read, and then they learn how to read, then they read to learn. But one of the problems that we have is comprehension. And you have it all over. People read it, but don't comprehend it. If I had one thing that I could do, I think it's teaching comprehension, explaining to comprehend what you're reading. I have to sit there, and I'm getting old, and I read, and it takes me some time not to comprehend, but it takes me, a little bit with my eyes. But you have to comprehend. You have to maybe read that sentence twice, that paragraph twice. You got to take and get the flavor of it.
Yeah.
See, that's what I rely on you to hire the best people that know what they're doing. I mean, I got to be honest. These kids, all of our students, they spend 6 hours and 36 minutes every day, 5 days a week, and the students have the teachers there. The teachers, they understand. I'll give you this, Ed. Do you remember your first teacher? You see, that's the thing. How many people, I remember...
Mrs. Moriarty, kindergarten, Southern School, I think is my first teacher. Yeah. Half day.
Mrs. McCormick,
Yeah.
Southern School.
There you go.
I'm sorry, but no.
Too funny.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I
I mean, because you know how to read doesn't mean that you know how to comprehend.
Yeah.
So, if it was one thing that I'm going to charge you with, I want to make sure that the kids they gotta comprehend what they read.
Absolutely. Mr. Lugo, anything to add? Or,
yeah. I got a couple things to add,
Yeah.
but I'll be really impressed if you have that class picture still.
You know what? My mother might.
Right.
She
You know,
very well may.
you
That's
know,
something that's
it's-
probably not going to be circulating out there, though.
But the reason why I say that is because it's funny because I still have every single class picture.
Do you
actually,
really?
I actually it was actually in the days of Facebook. It's actually kind of cool because I could post it out there and tag people in kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's actually funny, but.
That is
I'm gonna
funny.
no, but I'm gonna dovetail after what Mr. Romano just said. Yeah, we put the foot on the gas to drive you. We
Yeah.
give you the fuel that you need, to be able to act and to be able to lead, the district. I think, and he brought up culture. I kind of want to tie this back to that.
Sure.
I think one thing that we can do as a board is we could actually help you and give you the tools that you need to establish that culture that fits the vision. And when you have a culture, the teachers in the classroom are one thing. The culture is a little bit more of an overarching body that
Yeah.
encompasses all. But when you have a culture that alleviates stresses on kids, you could actually allow them more intellectual capacity
That's a good point.
to pursue their academic goals. Me personally, I don't think anybody's born smart. I really don't. I think you see people, achieve significant academic goals because they have an ability to just shed distraction. And when you shed distraction, that's when concentration can really start to form.
Yeah.
And I actually think it was Isaac Newton that says, there's nothing really special about me. I just have this uncanny ability to focus on something for like an insane
Amount of
time. That's really the only thing that makes me different, from everybody else. I mean, granted, there's only so much that you can do at school, because I think parents play a serious role also in education, because if they're not enforcing what's being learned at school at home, then you're putting the child at a disadvantage. But when you could start eliminating these stresses and allow these kids to focus on things without distraction, that's when I really think you start to see meaningful achievement.
Isn't that something like wellness, Ed?
Yeah, well, it is. Listen,
yeah.
it absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
one of the pillars of the strategic plan, and just part of human nature too, right? The ability to focus on something that's interesting to you, number one, without in a manner that's conducive to your learning style, right? In order to get better at it, right?
Yeah.
And that would be to, eliminate external distractions. And I think what you're referencing is, hey, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I want to provide the framework for the administrative team and teachers, right, through the roles that have been, through the characteristics of being a Board of Education member. You want to provide that forum, whether that's through policy, whether that's through decision making, so that all of those things can happen in the classroom, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Great stuff. Great
Correct.
stuff. So, listen, we're kind of coming to the end of our time right now, and I got maybe just a final thought. Just a final thought. This is a softball one. This is This is a softball.
Okay.
This is a total softball.
Yeah, sure.
Is there any final thought, anything you want to tell the community or the listening base right here about how your role or how governance kind of impacts the things that Mr. Romano's talking, students every single day? Is there anything about what you do or what you've seen now being halfway through your term or on the second go around as you referenced? Anything about governance, decision making that you want our community to know?
Yeah. Well, I think when you put in a role of governance and you are 100% committed to good governance, following ethics,
Yeah.
I think it filters into all other aspects of life, to be honest with you, because there's structure, there's doing things the right way, there's being able to provide, being able to guide, there's being able to provide oversight. And what this had shown me this first term is that concentrating here on the board with other board members and working with your staff, it just infiltrated other areas of my life, and I started looking at things differently.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely for the better.
Yeah.
Definitely for the better in the way that my perspective has changed in a lot of different ways. But I still come down on my kids. I still tell them. I still tell them. That hasn't changed.
But I know exactly what you're saying, though, right? There's tenets of leadership also that can transcend into personal life too, right?
100%.
We talk about the idea of listening, the idea of communication, the idea of empathy, right? All of those tenets of leadership play a role in all aspects of your life, from friendship to family to beyond work. So I get it.
100%. And I think probably one of the biggest elements of that is really thinking twice, rethinking. And and also rethinking when it comes to communication. Is this the best way to say X?
Yeah.
If I do say X, how could that be understood in different ways? But I definitely agree with that.
Awesome. Mr. Romano, anything you'd like to let the community know, in relationship to this topic of governance? Anything we haven't touched upon today?
I just want the public to know that the Edison public school system is doing the job. Now, how do I know that? Well, do you know the Edison school system, we had an astronaut?
I do know that.
Do you know that, the Edison school system, we had a senator? Do you know we had an associate Supreme Court justice? Do you know that we had assemblymen, mayors? And I'll end with this.
Yeah.
I don't know, you might think it's corny, but there's a street in Edison. It's Christie Street.
Okay.
There's a street light. Imagine a world without lights. What Edison makes, the world takes, with open arms. There's colleges that are screaming for our graduates.
Yeah, I agree.
And I'm proud to be part of it.
Awesome. Well, I am as well, too. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Romano and Mr. Lugo. Listen, I am equally as proud and unbelievably fortunate, I would say, for myself to not only be in the leadership role that I am, but it's a privilege to come to work every day, work with not only the Board of Education, but the staff. And we have the best of both here in Edison Township. So I do thank you both for your time. I know you're very, very busy, but these are great conversations to have. Yeah, and I think that our community is going to enjoy listening to you. So again, ladies and gents, thank you for tuning in to Leading the Way Governance in Action episode. Thank you so much to Mr. Christopher Lugo and Mr. Joseph Romano. Signing off, thank you, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again for listening to Leading the Way. We hope today's episode offered a meaningful look at the people and the passion and the driving force behind Edison Township Public Schools. We'll be back soon with more voices and stories that reflect the heart of our district. But until then, thank you for being a part of this journey.